Yo, what's going on, guys? Versal here, and today I'll be doing a going second dinosaur deck profile. I wanted to do this earlier, but I just didn't get around to it, so I'm doing it now. This is probably going to be the last deck profile until Crossover Breakers comes out, and then I'll kind of reevaluate and update the going first list and the going second list. If you haven't seen the going first version of Dinos that I've been playing, the Wanted version, and you're interested in playing the deck going first rather than going second, definitely check those out. But before I get into the deck profile, if you're interested in this Dinosaur playmat or these sleeves, check out finalsaga.de. And if you decide to buy anything, use my code VERSAL10 for 10% off your order. Anything you buy using the code helps support the channel directly, so definitely check them out. They got a lot of cool stuff. And if you haven't subbed to the channel already, definitely do that. Drop a like, comment, all that good stuff. Everything helps me out. But yeah, this deck's going to be 40 cards, blind second. There's not really a good reason to play a going second deck that isn't Tenpai, but Tenpai is cringe and this guy's cool. So we're going to play Tenpai at home with the cool guy instead. So yeah, it's 40 cards. Just get right into it. The one misc. This card's great. I wish it was at more than one. This deck would be a lot better. 3 Ovi, 2 Archosaur, 3 Baby, 1 Petite. For going first, I like 2 Petite, but for going second, I think 1's fine because you're drawing that extra card, so you don't really want to be clogging on the babies too much. You could play a second one if you really wanted to, but I don't think it's necessary. Then the 1 Kaito. This could also be Giant Rex. It really doesn't make a big difference. Then we got 2 Conductor, the Goat, then Meteorus and Frostosaurus. I think these cards are still good going second, since they give you like the most safe lines playing into boards or to not lose to like a Nibiru. Because you could just, if you resolve your misc, you could just climb into the Dolka, Lars, and kind of clean stuff up with Conductor. So whether you can OTK or not, you're doing it a lot more safe into like any back row or Nibiru or anything like that. So I think these cards are still important to have. And then when you do get sent to go first, which is going to happen a decent amount of the time, I'm assuming, especially against like Tenpai, you want these in the deck so you can actually make like a better end board that isn't just like SP rank 4 Conductor, which is kind of bad. So these cards are still worth playing, I think. And then the 1 pink. Even though it's a going second deck, I'm still only playing the 1. Mainly just because you can like search it with Ovi sometimes. You can access it through popping a Petite, which can come up. And it's just a good card with Lost World as well. But I didn't think like the pink or like the Doggerins were good enough going second to want to play more of it. But you could if you want to. I just don't think like it's the best type of going second card right now. For the spells, like the engine stuff, consistency, got the 1 Prosperity. The only drawback to this card really is the half damage, but the consistency it provides and just being able to search for like a piece of non-engine or whatever to either crack a board or help get you an extender so you can keep going. It's just, you have to play this. 1 Ground Xeno. I don't like this card going second very much, but I do think you want to have at least 1 in the list. But like with the Mulch Armies, you don't want to be drawing into multiples of these. Playing Thrust throughout the list, so having this as an option to get off Thrust sometimes comes up, as opposed to like Fossil Dig, because sometimes you need to search for Ground Xeno to pop a baby instead of using Fossil Dig to get something else, which you know, it can come up sometimes, but you want the extra Thrust target for the engine. Then we got the 3 Dig, 2 Pill, and then the MVP going second is Lost World. You could potentially even play like another Terraforming just for more copies of this, but this card helps you a lot going second, playing into hand traps, playing around targeting stuff in the format, which there's a lot of, especially with like the Fire King deck. But yeah, this card's just really good when you're going second. I don't like the card going first in the deck very much because it's not really helping you play around certain things. Like if you normal and OV with this, you can still get hit by Imperm or whatever. So it's not the best there, but having this helps you play around like Impulse and Ash a little bit better as well. Because especially when you're going second and can battle phase hit the token. And then I'm playing a couple other things too that can pop it as well. So this card is just great, especially going second. Consider playing Terraforming, but I think you need at least 3. Then for the non-engine, we got the 3 Fualos, 3 Raigeki, 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, and then 3 Super Poly. This is like the spicy choice, I guess. 1 Thrust and 1 Imperm. So at first I was playing the 6 Mulcharmies in the main deck. So I had like the 3 Fuelos and then these 3 as well. But I think in this deck, like compared to Tenpai, they have a lot more non-engine. So you're looking at 15 in this deck, and then Tenpai has like 24 or something like that. So having 6 cards that just draw things isn't as good when you don't have as many like good cards to draw into. So finding the Perulia was in a decent amount of matchups. You're not getting like a ton of value off it. It's always going to get you that like 1-for-1 trade, because like every deck normal summons, so you're always going to get 1 draw at least off it usually. But when you don't have as much non-engine compared to like Tenpai, that 1 extra draw isn't doing too much for you. But there's some decks where you really just want to have all 6 Mulcharmies in, and that's why I just decided to side the other one. Raigeki, this card's not bad in the format. It's not great either by itself, but if you pair it with some other stuff, like if you have 2 of these or like any combination of board wipes, it's usually pretty good even against the decks like Fire King. If you drop 2 Raigekis on a Fire King, it's really not that bad. And then the Thrust can also search for these, so I just wanted to play the 1 Thrust in the main just for being able to search these type of cards and being able to search for engine, since I think the main issue with this deck going second is not really the boards that you're playing into, it's the mass amount of hand traps that are in the format right now, and primarily the Ash and Impulse, which is in a lot of the fire decks. And those are the ones that can really hurt you sometimes, even going second when you have really good hands. If you don't have like enough engine to push past one of those, it doesn't matter if you clear the board, because you're not going to be able to like do an actual push. So I think having ways to beat the Ash and Impulse is important, and Lost World really helps you do that a lot. So like having this, giving them the token, and then having like the Raigekis in your deck, and then the Thrust to be able to search it, so you can board wipe them, and in the process you can proc your Lost World to get back into your engine again. So I think Raigeki is really good. I decided to just play this one instead of Dark Hole, because Dark Hole's kind of weird. Like you don't really want to be normal summoning a baby ever, because like if they have 1 negate, you just normal summon a baby for no reason. So realistically, you're never really going to want to nuke your own board. So like if you start with an OV and it gets impermed with the Lost World, you don't really want to Dark Hole your own OV. You'd rather have that extra body. So I think Raigeki's just a better card, and then these are just hit back row. The Storms can hit monsters as well. And then the 1 Imperm's just the 40th card. And then I am siding more Thrust, so I just wanted 1 more trap that's settable off Thrust for when, you know, you are going first and then this gets live and you just want to have something to set off it other than like the D barrier, because say you draw a D barrier, you don't really need 2. Or if you're playing against a matchup that doesn't care about D barrier and you want to side the Thrust in because you're not sure if you're going first or not, you just want something to be able to set off it, so I just decided to main the 1 Imperm. And then the Super Polys is like the spicy card. I think this card's pretty good in the format. Sometimes it's a little hit or miss, but this card could be Droplet instead. That's like the cards I went back and forth with in this slot. I didn't want to play both of them together since they both kind of have heavy costs. Since this, you have the discard, Droplet, you have to send stuff, which usually you have to send like at least 1 from hand, in addition to like chaining it to something that you played before. But I think Super Poly is pretty good. If you get to throw Mud Dragon on the board before committing stuff, the targeting protection helps a lot. So I think this card's pretty good, but you could opt to play Droplet instead of these, and I think both are good. But that's it for the non-engine and the main deck. For the extra deck, I'm going to go over the mandatory stuff first, since this extra deck's really flexible. We got Dolka, Lagia, Lars, Zero Negates, Dweller. This helps a lot when you're playing to like a Fire King board, especially, but sometimes you just need this card to shut stuff off on the crackback as well. The Anima, SP, Reaperdocus. This is here just for if you need to clear the Anima under a Meteor's lock. And then alternatively, there's something you could side that this would come up for, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then the two like Super Poly targets you have to play, Garura and Mud Dragon. Like I said, if you get the Mud Dragon out as your first action with a Super Poly, and you're like clearing some of their board and getting this out to protect your stuff from targeting, it's really, really good. But these are 9 that you really have to play. And then alternatively, you have some other Super Poly targets you could consider. This is the Chaos Star Source Dragon. This is just there for Centurion. So if you want a Super Poly target for Centurion, play this. The Dragostopelia. It's good for like fusion decks. It can hit Yubel. It's not the best versus Yubel, but it could hit like Varudras plus Desiree if they go for that. And then the Desiree would send this, so it's not like the best. Still like a 2 for 2, but it's okay. Then we got the Nightmares and Access Code if you just want like the flexibility to be able to blink climb and then get rid of stuff. And then OTK. These cards are decent. It's a little costly on the bodies, and then you're playing into Nibiru when you go into this usually, so it's not great, but it's an option. And then you have Pentastag and Dugaras. This is another like going second package you could play. Sometimes just Dugaras getting stuff super big can help beat over stuff that's unaffected or just win through Prosperity. But since Prosperity is at 1, that doesn't come up as much as it used to, so these are definitely optional. The Chengying, this card's pretty good sometimes when you're going second. If you don't want to make Lars, you can make this instead, so it's not bad. The Baguska, this is mainly for like when you get shifted. Typhon, I don't think Typhon's great in this deck since Conductor has such a high attack, but sometimes if you can't get to certain things and you just slap a Typhon, it can maybe end up winning you a game, so it's not bad to include if you have it. And then Donner, this is only worth it if you play Fenrir, and I talk about Fenrir a little bit in the side, so I decided to include this. And then Amirage and Secure Guard. Now this is just for when you brick on like Pill plus a small attack normal summon or something like that. It doesn't really come up much, but it can come up. So if you have like 2 extra slots that you don't know what to do with, you could just play these. But these are all like pretty optional. You could play like these and one of these going second packages, and then like another Super Poly target, anything like that. Like these are all like very niche cards that can all come up, but you kind of decide what you want to go with. But these are like the mandatory ones right here. So side deck, already mentioned it, but the 3 Perulias, 3 Ash. This is just good in some matchups, especially Tenpai. And then sometimes you don't know if you're going to go first or not, or if you want to choose to go first sometimes. This is just a good card to be able to side in. Then we got 2 Cosmics. It's definitely a card you could play more of. It's very good. It's good when you go first or second, which is nice. I learned a lot of cards in the side deck that were mainly good for when you go first, or if you think you're going to go first. But it's nice when they have the dual purpose. Call by, same thing. Sometimes you can side this in going second, depending on the matchup. But it's just a good card going first or second for certain things, mainly hand traps, but sometimes hitting other engines with this is really good. And I got 2 more thrusts to go with the one in the main deck, and then the talents. I don't know if you necessarily need to side the talents because it's not that great, but it's good to have. Because you do already have like Raigekis and like engine, stuff like that you could search going second. So you might not need the talents for going second, but it's a good card you could side in if you're going first potentially as well. And then the 3D barriers, that's mainly for Tenpai, but hits other decks as well. And then this is 15. Now talk about some extra options you could play as usual. Fenrir, something you could side a couple of these just for when you don't know if you're going first or not, especially. It's just another card that you could throw in, and then if they do make you go first, it's just not a bad card. And then it does have synergy with Lost World, to where if you do go first, you can make the Donner with this and like a normal summon Dino and then combo through that way. You got DD Crows. I think this card's pretty good right now to cut off like Fire King from using their engine. You can hit Fiendsmith cards, and then preventing a Desiree can be good in combination with your breakers, since you're cutting off that Omni Negate, so your breakers can go through. That I mentioned before, Droplets. This isn't something I would really side, I don't think, but if you don't want to play Super Polys, I think this is the better card to play. If you do want to take those out, that's what I would replace it with. Then Cosmic, you can play a third one of these if you want. If you want another going first card instead of anything here, in addition to like the D-Bears, if you really want to go after Tenpai, you could throw in Judgments. I think this is like the next best going first card that actually has like other purposes other than like Threatening Roar only hitting Tenpai. Like this is just a generically good card. And then something else you could opt to do is put the Banshee in your extra deck and then side the Flag and Protos. So this is just something that you could do. Same thing if you're going first or second. If you don't know, you could side these in. And then if you're going second, you're discarding like Molchamis, you're getting attributes engraved that way. And then you could end up just dropping a Protos after your plays get stopped, and then that could help win you a game. And then going first, you could Banshee into Flag, and then Flag into Protos, and then get the Reaper-Docus to change something, so you could Protos blow up whatever you want. It's a little awkward with fire in this deck, since the Evil Swords are fire, but it's worth calling fire against a fire deck still, regardless, because they're not going to be able to do anything. So this is something you could consider. I think it's a little fragile compared to the usual stuff, but it's definitely something you could consider playing for sure. Because like this card's not really bad going second either. If you do like have to make a call whether you're going to go first or second, and then they do end up sending you second when you thought they might make you go first. But yeah, like all these are pretty good in their own ways, but these are like the more generic stuff that I think is just like a good baseline to kind of go off, and then these are like some decent considerations. But that's going to be it for this deck profile. You made it all the way. Shout out to you. And if you want to play Tenpai at home, this is the deck for you. Thanks for watching. Peace.